All right, welcome back from that very short break, if you like. This time around, we shall be going into our discussion proper. Don't forget, in the course of our opening, we told you that campaigns are already ongoing, despite the fact that some states are experiencing floods, and some political parties are already calling that the campaign should be suspended for days, or probably 2 or 3 days, to enable the residents or those who are affected to actually come by and see how they can go around their businesses, probably wait till the water comes down and their campaign can continue. But this time around, we shall not be talking about flood and campaign, but we are going to be looking at how do we ensure that we have age-free campaigns that are devoid of violence. Before now, each time you talk about political rallies, political campaigns, you cannot separate violence from it. But we've grown beyond that level. As a country, we should be able to now know that what we need now is a leader that will bring to table what the people want, and not for the citizens to go and fight for what they want again. Because they are in the picture, we've seen it all as a country. We've gotten beyond that level where people call us a growing democracy. Our democracy is about 22 or 23 years now, and we are still calling ourselves a national democracy. So what are we going to be seeing going forward in the 2023 election? And we have someone in the studio who has been in the front burner when it comes to broadcasting in Nigeria. He's a known face for those of you who are used to the word Don Pedro. We've seen him this morning in our studio. Is Dr. Don Pedro Obaseki. This morning is joining us live in our Abuja studio. He is the presidential media consultant to the Atiku presidential campaign team. A very good morning to you, sir.
Good morning. I'm happy to be here.
Welcome, sir.
Good morning, madam.
Yeah, I hope he's staying here with me this morning. We shall be taking Don Pedro together. Let's begin with the kick-off to the campaign for 2023. From the very day INEC lifted the ban for campaigns to start in 2023, in September, we saw political parties gearing up and trying to win votes as usual. Now, what's your general assessment of the atmosphere since the campaigns began?
I think until a few days ago, during the campaign in Kano, everything has been more or less cordial. And we have to understand that every party has its own different trajectory. I don't represent the other parties. I only make sure that I monitor the media presence of all the parties. And then I'm able to, based on that, also plan the upward movement of my principle. I speak for and I represent Atiku Abubakar, and then to a larger extent, the PDP. So I don't want to delve into what the others are doing. I will, if I want to delve into what they are doing, it will be from a critical, point of view, a comparative point of view. But for ourselves, we had a timetable planned out. If you looked at the entire campaign mechanics since the primaries, the PDP has stuck to making sure that they meet all the deadlines. They are stuck to making sure that they are in the very front burner when it comes to following the rules. When they said, oh, the primaries must hold on or before the 30th of May, PDP did their primaries on the 28th, while others were fighting for a postponement. In short, the INEC had to even shift the goalpost for one of the major players, which was actually against the Electoral Act. When the time to submit the vice presidential candidates and submit your manifestos, the PDP met its deadline. The others did not only fail to meet the deadline, they submitted fake names, and they call them placeholders, which are names which is something that is not even known to the polity. It is not part of the Constitution, it's not part of the Electoral Act, but so as not to stretch things too much. Now, on the 28th of September, INEC announced that you should start proper campaigns. And a few days after that, the campaign was started, unquote, by my principal. We've been to Bauchi, we've been to done consultations in Enugu, Ibadan, in Open. But 2 weeks ago, the presidential campaign was flagged off in Akwa Ibom, which is also the home state of the governor of Akwa Ibom, who is also the chairman of the PDP Presidential Campaign Council. So, and 2 days ago, we were in my home state, hosted by my brother, the governor. So, for me, the PDP is following it as it is meant to be. And I use the word now and said, apart from what happened in Kano and then in Zamfara, you know, which has really scared her, that there seemed to be some movement towards violence. I also saw on social media a few clips in Alaba where innocent citizens were being pursued with machetes and cudgels, you know, simply because they support another party. That, like you said that in your opening, politics and thuggery are two very separate, different things. Politics is process, thuggery is criminal. So, and we have noticed that it seems to be on the side so far of one same party.
Well, I will not want to, like you said, you're not going to stick for a particular party, or you're talking generally on the election.
Yes.
Now, let's look at the media properly, because you represent the media, the broadcast media.
Yes.
Now, if you are to assess our preparation so far, we know that prior to this campaign, the NBC, the regulatory body for broadcast media, actually brought together media organizations to tell them what to do and what not to do during the campaign period. Now, what role do you think broadcast media has to play in election? Let's look at the media.
I disagree with some of the things that is purportedly put forward by the NBC. The reason I disagree with the NBC is the fact that the NBC is not playing the role of ombudsman. What I mean by ombudsman, as guide. They are playing the role of class monitor. You know, I am part of the 7 people that wrote the National Broadcast Code. And my PhD led to private broadcasting in Nigeria in 1992. So, and when I see the present way the NBC hosts Forte, I feel a little uncomfortable. But however, there is no democracy without a free media. And when I say free media, I mean uncensored media. But media has to do self-censorship because there are limits to what you can say and there are limits to what is slanderous, what is libelous, even as a lawyer. Then the main part of it is, as a broadcaster, you are the fourth estate of the realm. And you have the immediacy that is lacking in print media, for example. If you go on air now on your radio station, and you just announce, say, let me give you an example. Somebody goes on air when I was a younger person in those days of Bender Broadcasting, and he wanted to do April Fool. He goes on air and says, Michael Jackson don't die. April Fool. People did not wait for the April Fool. They only reacted to Michael Jackson don't die. And at that time, Michael Jackson was reigning with Thriller and all those stuff. And there was chaos all over Edo and Delta State. Then it was Bender State. Chaos. The guy was joking. But that is to show you the ripple effect of broadcast media, because it is immediate, it is interactive. Now social media has even enhanced the space. But for you to have a television station or a radio station, you should have proper in-house guidelines to know what to say and know what not to say, to know the importance and effect of what you say, because you can burn the country, you can destroy the nation. So if that self-censorship exists, then the NBC comes and makes sure that those guidelines are followed. But when the NBC now becomes seeming like a class monitor who at the same time is biased on the side of one party or biased on the side of certain stations who can do things and get away with them, then the NBC becomes like a kid that missed the bus. So when I saw those guidelines, I just said, okay, well, let's see how it goes. So the best thing to do for television stations, like many of them are doing. I've been on many of the broadcast media. They start by a disclaimer. So, what Dr. Obaseki just said now is his personal opinion and is not necessarily representative of the opinion of this station. Yes. So you see governors on air do what broadcasting does not allow them to do. You know, you go on air and accuse someone of stealing ₦1 billion. Then the presenter asks you, who stole? From who? To where? From where? And he say, no, I can't say that on air. But you've already said the person's name has stolen. That is already it already contravenes some of the things that the NBC is fighting against. So the broadcast media is one of the major pillars to defend democracy in Nigeria. I was managing director of that communications upon a time, and Abacha came and said they should pull the whole place down, simply because we have decided to start giving broadcast space to NADECO. NADECO is fighting for Nigerians.
Well, I think we shouldn't deviate from what we're discussing now. I hope you have the last.
Yes. Okay, so I want to have your take, Don Pedro, on the use of abusive language in campaign, because we have Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. They have it as one of their rules that you just have to be issue-based campaign. You just have to, relay your manifestos to Nigerians in a proper way, devoid of abusive languages, reactions or comments to Nigerians or to electorate. So I want to have your take on that, because we know definitely it has its implication, to the security of the country.
It depends on what you by abusive language. You see, decorum is what everybody should preach. Decorum. So when you say abusive language, is it insults? Or is he saying the government is bad? That's not an abusive language.
When the candidate now is attacking the opponents.
That is normal. If you don't want to play, let me explain something. If you don't want to play politics, if you don't want anybody to expose your dirty linens, don't play politics. It's not Nigerian. It's not a Nigerian thing. Don't come and tell me somebody who I have evidence that is a wife beater. Then he wants to come and rule over people. I will say it on air. I will tell him to his face. If you are a serial wife beater and everybody knows you beat your wife on social media, like one of the spokespersons of one of the parties is online, then I'll come and say I won't say it, and the person wants to come and tell Nigerians when you are a serial wife beater. No. I will say it. That one is even a CSR, is a corporate social responsibility, so that people know that this is the true character of the person. I don't think that is censorship. What should be is there are issues that are on the manifesto. I know the manifesto of my principle. I know my 5-point agenda. I can reel it off the cuff. I can reel it out anything. All right? Now, if I look at it and I'm looking at the manifesto of the other parties, I have a right to poo-poo that manifesto. Because if you are telling me you are going to build skyscrapers between here, skyscrapers in the air, that you are going to build a bridge from here, from here to Lokoja, or you are going to bring a flyover that will take away the flood, I will criticize it. Just like in Nigeria, we were in this country in 2015 when they lied to us that they will bring the dollar from 198 to $1 to 1 naira. Let's don't be scared.
Let's go back.
No. I think you are very scared. You are very scared.
We are being very careful, so we don't go beyond what we are.
Let's
look at political parties.
Wait, relax.
Go ahead, sir.
You see, you are a broadcaster. When a broadcaster lacks confidence, you cannot transmit the confidence to the person in the house. So you are opening yourself for unnecessary. Your self-censorship becomes a problem to you as a broadcaster. As a broadcaster, you are the conscience of the people. I sit here, I sit on a pivot of truth. And truth has no color. And not even the Nigerian Broadcasting Commission, is DG, or any other person there from, can change truth. It is when I come on air to lie, and I'm celebrating or glorifying falsehood, that is a problem. But as a broadcaster, it is duty bound on me to look at you in the face and tell you, bro, you did lie. That is what elevates your social conscience. And that is your duty, not to me as Pedro, but to your viewers. So I don't be bothered. Ask me any question. I know the fear.
Let's go to the political violence this time. Why do we think political parties and their followers who want to engage in violence at all costs, just to ensure that the...
I think it's the escape route for those who did not do well. Almost always, if you look at the way things are in this country, if you look at it cosmically, almost always, those who resort to violence are those who want to turn the will of the people. Everybody knows where most Nigerians think now. Everybody knows. I don't have to even say it on air. You get my point? You know, so when people are involved in violence, violence is actually, I tell people, is actually caused by a lot of you who are educated, but you don't want to be involved in politics. So because you are not involved in politics, the worst of us now get involved in politics and they now rule over the best and the rest of us, because all of us are too scared. We're only interested in our children's school fees, in which kind small motor when you want ride. You know what they fear, who they fear to die when everybody go die. So those who seem to understand the arithmetic of violence use it to scare away a few decent ones like you. And at the end of the day, they take over the empty space. Let me give you an example. In Edo State, I'll use my state as an example. About 7 years ago, I ran for governorship. And in that run-in, I was told to do certain things that wasn't palatable to me as a person. And as a result of that, the then governor pulled his support from me. It became a problem. Obaseki. I was the original Obaseki that was running for governor. But I refused to endorse certain things. And I went public with them. And I lost out because of this what we are talking about. I will not be a governor and a former agbero or somebody who I know is just left the Oko on allegations of murder will now be made the youth leader of my campaign. So today, Edo State had to now, when Brad Godwin became governor, had to battle head-on motorbike democracy. Those same people today are now in the presidential campaign councils of some political parties. How did they elevate? But yet they cannot speak one straight line of English. They cannot write their name. There is even one of them who still today cannot sign his name. So he has to go to the place and thumbprint. But he used to sponsor candidates. So violence for them becomes a vehicle for achieving their end. You know the Machiavellian stuff. See, the end justifies the means. So, but the continuous, the heightened involvement of persons who are educated, persons who fear God, because if you are conscious of the repercussion of a crime, you are most likely not to commit it.
Yes.
So when you become, when those who are not violent prone, and then those who are not scared to be violent, because the violent, not they go school to be violent. Those who are not, I'm not scared if you are violent. I'll just tell you to bring it on. Because New Benin had a bomb. So I'm not sure say, I don't know whether you know where New Benin is. In Benin.
Well, I have not been to Benin, but let's look at, so what are the issues that we feel should be part of our campaign manifestos if we should put away violence in order to get the confidence of the people?
You see, every government has a scorecard. When I say every government, whether it's federal or state, and when you say federal, it's the APC. When you say state, it's APC, PDP, and ABGA. All of them are going to be involved in this election. And then there's the newer ones like Labour and the NMPP. You know, they are major players. The only luck that Labour and NMPP has is that they don't have a scorecard. So let every government at every stratum of the polity run on a scorecard. So don't come and tell me you want to renew hope for me. On a serious note, when I'm already in the very purple of hopelessness that is brought in by the same party. So run on your scorecard. Are you getting my point? It's just like you are telling me let me be straight with you, that I believe that Buhari's APC has put us in a lacuna. So I don't believe a Tinubu APC can pull me out of the lacuna that a Buhari APC has put me in. Because neither Buhari nor Tinubu are on the ballot. It is the party that is on the ballot. When you get to vote that day, you will not see Atiku face, you will not see Peter Obi face, you will not see Tinubu face, you will not see Kwankwanso face, you will only see the names and logos of the party. So it is the party manifestos. When I was younger, I grew up in a time where politics was vibrant. I am not a young man, I'm almost 60. You get my point? And in 1979, when UPN and MPN, those were the parties, Awolowo, Shagari, Nnamdi Azikiwe, MPP, we were all into the mix, even as young people. I was barely 14 then. I couldn't even vote. So we were already waiting for 1983. Because in 1983, I was already a university undergraduate, where we could vote. But we all knew all the manifestos. The UPN was called the 4 cardinal programs. Free education, free healthcare. Everybody knew what was there for the, what they call it, for MPN. Shagari, it was called the ethical revolution, ethical. We still remember. Now, when we got to the NROC SDP in the time of Bashir Tofa and MK Abiola, we all knew the whole mantra of the campaigns. We knew what the manifestos were. We crammed them. I was also assistant secretary of Hope 93. I was barely 20-something. I was a lecturer in university. So I knew. So today, the only campaign, the only manifesto I know today is my own manifesto. In 2019, it was next level. The other one was get Nigeria working again. In 2025, it was change. But Nigerians have never bothered to look at what is the cardinal. What did they say they will do? Did they do it? So if I knew all the billboards of the APC in 2015, I would place all the billboards are all over the place. So I would take the billboard and say, okay, they say they will do this. Did they do this? So it is, those are issues. So if anybody says we should not even talk about those kind of issues in this campaign, those persons don't wish Nigeria
well.
We'll
just hold your thoughts there. We'll take a quick commercial break. I won't return. I'll take it up from where we stop.
Welcome back. It's still this morning on ITV, and we are still talking about the 2023 general elections violence-free campaign. And of course, we still have with us in the studio Don Pedro Obaseki. Don Pedro, I want to talk about this National Peace Accord, that was signed by about 18 political parties and their candidates, to ensure that we have peaceful campaign. Of course, then definitely we'll be expected to have peaceful elections. So, which means that violence is not what is expected during the election. So they pay cognizance to violence, having violence-free election. So I want you to talk to me about likely consequences you think that violence can have on our elections.
See, I remember what Goodluck Jonathan said in the run into the 2015 general elections. And he said that the blood of any Nigerian is not worth the ambition. The ambition of any politician is not worth the blood of any Nigerian. So, conversely, the polity cannot move forward when the politics is played dirty. I keep telling those who are close to me on the stupidity that is involved in violence, because politicians don't have permanent friends. It's nothing that is peculiar to Nigeria. President Eisenhower once said that in politics there are no permanent friends, but permanent interest. So if you now become the cannon folder, the waste pipe, or the collateral damage that will now ensue because you are fighting one particular politician's interest, and you put the entire peace and harmony of your community and even your family in jeopardy, you are just less than smart. So violence in an election is usually an escape by those who have nothing to offer. Number two, if you look at it, let me give you, I will come back to my state so that it's localized, because that is what I know. In 2015, in 2016, Godwin Obaseki was supported by Adams Oshomole against Pastor Osaige Ezeyam. Now, people who were stupid and killed themselves in the Wahala, either violence or otherwise, in 2016, they died for nothing. You know why? Because in 2020, Adams Oshomole, who brought Godwin Obaseki, moved and started supporting Pastor Osaige Ezeyam, whom he had made a demon in 2016. So all the friends of all those who were friends in one camp in 2016, changed camps, changed parties, changed positions, changed leaders. So everybody who was supporting Godwin in 2016 became Godwin's enemy in 2020. And all those who were supporting, who were the enemies of Pastor Osaige Ezeyam in 2016 became his best friends in 2020. Now anybody who had been involved in a violent conduct, either lose their legs or lose their eyes or lose their souls or lose their lives, died in vain. Because those persons who they thought they were fighting for, all the strange bedfellows were now the best bedfellows, and all the best bedfellows suddenly became strange bedfellows. So why I'm saying that is, usually the many politicians seem to milk the poor. They milk their situation. They know that this man's take-home pay can't take him home. So as a result of that, they offer him locker, offer him small money, and then the person involved. It's just almost like the way they do vote buying. Somebody is giving 1,000 naira or 2,000 naira.
Well, it was increased to 4,000.
4,000 naira.
It's for a pot of soup.
For a pot of Thank you. So you mean that you have actually sold your patrimony for 1,000 naira a year if you collect 4,000 naira, because you are voting the man into office for 4 years. So if you are the one that takes a beer, you have actually sold your patrimony for 2 bottles of beer a year. That's why at that point, even the take-home pay you took can't take you home. So it is also good that the broadcast services should run advertorials to show the futility in electoral violence. Yes. And the best way to do that is to personalize it. All those people that are running on the streets, when people are running and shouting, they are just a number, a mob. Mobs have no identity. But if you can pick one person within that mob to tell a story, that look, this guy just died here now, and 3 years later, this is what happens to his family. His family now, maybe the children were going to school. The man dies in a violent, induced environment, and now his children are now maybe hawkers, beggars. So that with that pathos, it will make, when you let them know that none of the children of those they are fighting for are involved in the fight, in the violence, not one, then maybe those who are involved in violent conduct might begin to redress and retrace their steps, Okay,
so I have a linking question to this political theory, because we're already talking about it. We can see that most of these political talks are linked to youth, the Nigerian youth, the jobless Nigerian youth, which you already talked about. So do you have some ways, how we can actually curb this, advising the youths now on how they can, how they can behave during electoral processes, how they can actually become, most of all those unlawful behaviors, most of all those electoral misconducts is actually related to the Nigerian youth. If you have some words to them on how they can actually behave during elections.
Yes, I was at the National Youth, I was a keynote speaker in one of their National Youth Council stuff about a few years ago. First and foremost, the Nigerian youth is its own problem. The Nigerian youth does not seem to have proper calibration of his own essence. He doesn't realize that in any dispensation, the youth, don't say the youth are the leaders of tomorrow. No, 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 no. They used to tell us that when I was young. Well, when I was young, what if I tell you I became a lecturer in the university at the age of 21? By 24, I've been to jail twice and back, fighting Abacha. So, are you getting my point? But how many Nigerians, when I was growing up, I recognized who I was and what I was. I knew who I be. I know who I be. I speak pidgin, not novice. But I made a first class. I'm the first person to make a first class in the Faculty of Arts in the University of Benin. By 24, I already had a PhD. By 32, I was a professor. But I knew that I wasn't just part of the furniture. When I was growing up, there was no Facebook, so I faced my book. Now, all the children, they are caught in the paucity of the immediacy of social media. And they've not been able to use that, except during the NSAS for just a period, to galvanize mass movement, to place the youth on a proper pedestal. The people who are using the youth are already a spending force. When I was growing up, Shoyinka used to tell us, I'm an apostle of Shoyinka. He said, ours is a wasted generation. That is their generation. Now Shoyinka is above 80. So, and generationally, that is 30 years. He said, theirs is a wasted generation. And I wrote a few years later that ours was a wasting generation. And the generation we are looking at now is an already wasted. Because they wasted themselves by not even look. You see, power is not given. Power is taken. And when power is unchallenged, it becomes legitimate. Until, when you now see a few younger ones being thrown up. I remember when Dimeji Bankole he married as a speaker. Or this young man that is governor of Kogi State. Now, the few times these youths have been thrown up, what you find is elemental brigandage that seems to reduce the hope for the same youth. But to give up is a problem. The youth needs to galvanize themselves around themselves. When Showore was running, the first time he ran, Pedro, I had to call a meeting in Asaba, December 10th, 2018, where all the other political parties were put together. I'm president of the Midwest movement. There was Mogalu, there was this and that. And why don't you guys decide one person on who to follow so that all the youth will fall behind? All of them, I'm not saying it, I'm saying it on air. All of them refused to vote for another person. I don't know whether I get my point. All the thing was okay. Hope you are here. Chairman, you are here. Okay. Me, I'm here. We are all contesting. Please, outside of yourself, vote for the person you think should be the best. All of them, not one, all of them refuse to vote for another person.
Everybody wants to vote.
Everybody's voted. I'm telling you.
Vote for yourself.
So Showore wrote his own name. I'm saying it on air. Mogalu wrote his own name. Victor Okai wrote his own name. They all wrote their own names. And so the peace party fell apart. Now, what that brings is to show that where the will to move the people forward is lacking, the youth will not even know who to follow. And then education is key. You know, you cannot move a people forward if you don't raise their brain power upward. It is when you raise the brain power, when you raise their thinking faculty, when they begin to see the repercussions of their action, that is when they are most likely to follow the right path.
All right, as we go forward, rather we're ending this discussion in a few minutes' time. Let's look at the electorate generally. You just spoke to the youths now. What should we be looking at ahead of 2023 as the campaigns are building up?
Not kill yourself for another person. That is a given. But what is most important is Nigerians should not allow the immediacy of the stomach to decide the future. What is that name they used to say? Well, politicians say it a lot. Stomach infrastructure. Even, my father said, if you eat a whole house today, tomorrow you go still hungry. What we should pray is to follow political processes and follow the promises made that seem to have a tangential end. Look at it. Make sure you don't run after the lie. Don't run after the next locker. Don't run after the next take-home pay that may not take you home. Don't sell your vote. Believe in yourself. When you vote, defend your vote. Stand to defend your vote. Because I will speak Bini, no verse. Meaning, it is braver for you to say, here I stood and fought, than for people to laugh at your children tomorrow and say, that was where their father saw a fight and ran into the bush. So that you don't become the living legacy of shame. We are where we are today because Nigerians almost always take action based on emotion without an end-to-end thought out. When we just verse, we just, okay, now we take the way with this. So Jonathan no good, Jonathan no good, Jonathan no good. Now we just the way with this. So
I must thank you so much for your time with us this morning.
Thank you.
Dr. Don Pedro Obaseki.